Hello again, I am Blunty, and if you clicked on this video, I'm sure you're aware this is the ROG Ally handheld gaming PC, similar to what the Steam Deck brought to market, but newer and better in many ways. I've made a bunch of videos on it already, but today we're looking at docks. Now, I've chosen two specific docks here. Well, not specific actually, general docks here. I've got two examples. There's this one here, this one here. This is about $30 on Amazon. This is about $65 on Amazon. They are broadly similar in many ways. They've both got at least 100 watts of power delivery. The Ally itself only needs 65 watts. I think the Steam Deck is 45, but exceeding that's not going to harm you. And most of these devices just do 100 as a standard anyway. They've got at least a couple of USB ports on it. This one has two USB 3.0 ports, sorry. Actually, I'm going to have to double check with it. There's two USB 3.0 port and one USB 3.0 port. I thought it was 2 of 2 and 1 of 3. I might have to double check that. They might have screwed up their packaging. But this one definitely has two USB 2.0 ports on it. They both have an Ethernet jack in case you wanted to wire directly into your network, although the Wi-Fi on the Ally is especially good, but you know, it's always nice to have that as well. The biggest difference between these two docks though is this one also happens to have a built-in bay for an M.2 drive. So you've got a built-in storage device. So the price difference between these two is about what you would pay for a halfway decent external enclosure for an M.2 drive anyway, an extra $30-35 also. So that all seems to work out in the wash basically. So let's get unboxing these things, have a closer look, and then I'm gonna, cut this take, put these things to use for a little while, and come back and tell you all about them. So, cheaper option first, basic ass packaging. First impressions are, ooh, it's actually quite nicely built. It does seem to be plastic, but not a plastic I'm familiar with. It doesn't feel very plasticky, but it sort of presents as that sort of powder-coated aluminium. So I've got a couple of pads down here that wrap around the front to stop your unit sort of getting scratched when you pop it in there. Little rubber pad at the back there, also to stop your unit resting directly against the thing. So on the back, a couple of USB ports, HDMI, and your USB-C input. That's where you would plug the charger that comes with your device, because that's where you get your power from. And in return, you plug this into the top of the device. And actually, let's see if that reaches. These are ostensibly designed for the Steam Deck. That's what they're sort of marketed and tagged towards. So can the USB reach? Easily. Because that's in a slightly different place on the Steam Deck. I think Steam Deck one's over here. But yeah, not a problem. We're still sitting pretty central on the dock, and the USB cord still has plenty of give in it. So easy peasy on that one. Quite like that, actually. Tidy little... Oh, there's the... Whoops, daisy. Who am I, Linus? USB, the RJ45 port for your network on the other end there. Yeah, first impressions, kind of nice. Pretty good for the $30 you pay for it, I suppose. Now, let's have a look at the slightly fancier one. Here, in here, feels like that might be the same kind of construction. Yeah, no, this is actually metal this time. It's thin, but it's definitely metal. And it feels quite well constructed, no flex or twerk in it. Alright, HDMI, USB port 3.0, 3.0, 2.0. Ah, so the box was wrong. It's two 3.0s and one 2.0. That's perfectly good, actually. That's really nice. And around the side here, of course, you've got your RJ45. And again, we've got rubber pads that curl all the way around the edge of it, and a little pad on the back there. And again, let's do a quick fit test. Safety cap there, and yeah, even more flexibility on USB cord here. We've got plenty of cord here to have this sit any way we like, so we can have it nice and central. So, easy peasy. Now, how do we get into the bay? Looks like we just, I've got a couple arrows here. Looks like we might slide it forward. Does that release you? No? Can we... backwards. That's the locking direction. So, yep, pretty standard M.2 bay there. It doesn't come with the screw to, or the post to screw it down. Does really? Really? Does it not come with that? Oh, wait. Spoke too soon. There it is. No, wait. Okay, so it doesn't come with a metal post or a screw for your M.2 drive, but it does appear to have little rubber stoppers. I've seen this on some motherboards as well. They work fine. For those of you who've never seen this system before, these are little plastic nubbies, which is why I don't like them, because you can sort of snap these things accidentally if you're a little bit too rough for them, but usually it's not a problem because once they're installed for ages and ages, and you do get a spare one just in case. But yeah, it sort of snaps into the board, and it's got a little right angle tab that holds down the end of your drive. So again, I prefer the post and screw type method just because it's nice and secure and mechanical, whereas this is just a little piece of plastic, but there you go. So let's pop this in. I'm pretty sure this drive is a blank one. I've had it sitting on my desk for a while. I don't know what I last used it in, but can't be that important if I've forgotten what's on it. So let's go ahead and pop that there. Whoop. And I've dropped it. And this is why I don't like these things, because yeah, you gotta purchase the drive in between that right angle and a little tab there so it doesn't sort of flop around too much. So it's a little bit of a fiddly arrangement. Oh, I'm misaligned slightly. There it goes. Okay, so yeah, once it's in, and you know, you're gonna have to give that a fair knock to knock it free, but you know, whatever. It's cheaper than a screw and a post, I suppose. Ka-chunk. And yeah, I don't think that's going to come off accidentally if you knock it around. Yeah, I don't have too much concern that it's going to, you know, clip off and fly off. You know, if you're taking that much force in a particular direction against your dock, you haven't packed it properly. It's the issue. So that's fine. Not fantastic, but fine. Again, just I would prefer to have it screwed down, but it's fine. In any case, like I said, I'm going to cut the camera, put these things to actual work now, and I'm going to come back to you after I've given them a proper test and show you how I like them. And just for point of comparison, this is the dock I've been using to get a HDMI out to record all my tests and demos and review vision and whatnot on the thing. This is designed for a MacBook, so it's designed to sort of sit underneath the back of a MacBook and just plug into the side. But, you know, it's just a dock. It does the same thing. HDMI there. This is how old this is, by the way. See that right there? Camera, focus. D15. That's quaint, isn't it? But it still has USB 3 and, you know, a display port and everything. I don't know what that's doing there. Maybe that's for business people who still use, like, projectors in conference rooms that only have VGA input or whatever. This dock has what the other two docks don't have, though, and that's an SD and micro SD card reader. I would have liked those on the docks, but they're not essential. I can always just plug one into one of the USB ports in the dock if I needed it to. But in any case, again, for point of comparison, that's what I have been using to date. It's been a bit clumsy because obviously this is not designed to plug into a handheld. So, you know, I've been giving it this with the HDMI cord dangling out to my capture card. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. That's the time warp thing from Wayne's World. It's an old movie, kids. You should use to see it. So I feel like I'm Tony Stark talking to Peter Parker here. Hey, you remember that really old movie? Anyway, so cut to some testing later. I put these things through their paces for a little bit, and I can, well, long story short, I can recommend both. They are both decent docks. I did have a couple of issues, though. In both cases, for reasons I could not figure out, despite both being rated at up to 4K 60 FPS for their HDMI output, which means it's HDMI 2.0 at least. HDMI 2.1 would allow you to do 4K at 120, but, you know. I couldn't get them to run at 4K. This one did present at 4K briefly, but then decided to turn off the display. Don't know why. This one never presented 4K. Both happily presented 1080p 60 fine, and I know it's not the setup I was using because the stopgap measure I was using that I showed you before, this A10 MacBook dock, yeah, this presents 4K out from it just fine. So, not sure what's going on there. The second issue is, in both these cases, they don't actually let the Ally go to its full turbo mode. And this was an issue I also had with this, but I thought the issue was it's not rated to deliver the whole 65 watts total power that this thing wants to go into its full 30 watt turbo mode. Instead, when I was hooked up to this, it would output a 25 watt turbo mode. Because the power pass-through delivery on this is 60 watts, but it also uses 15 watts on its own if you're driving all of the stuff. Less than 15 watts if you're not driving all of the stuff. So I thought that's what the problem was. In both these cases, I plugged in the official power supply you get here, the 65 watt power one, and they both failed to let the Ally go into its 30 watt power mode. So I think what's happening here is, despite these being rated at 100 watts, if you only feed them 65, they use a little bit of power for themselves, and the Ally goes, hey, I'm not getting the full 65 here, I'll let you turbo to 25, but not 30. So, considering both these are rated at 100 watt power pass-through, if I were to feed it 100 watt or more than 65 watt at least, power input, which I do not have one of those handy, unfortunately. I would imagine then it would let it turbo properly, but until that point, 25 watt versus 30, not a huge deal in the long form of things really, but something you do need to be aware of. If I was choosing between these two docks, I would pick this one. It's an easy decision for two reasons. Number one, of course, we have the ability to have a drive sitting in there. I did do a drive speed test on it, as you might imagine, being in an external enclosure and sharing its bandwidth with all of the other stuff, the video output, the USB, the Ethernet, all that sort of stuff. You're not going to get full speed, but you do get pretty decent speeds. I'll put them up on the screen here for you now. I didn't make a note of it. It's 450-ish, whatever. Yeah, it should, you know, its raw speed is more than 10 times that when it's coming to reads. But read and write speed of these kind of results is still going to be more than enough for your gaming needs. Easy peasy. I had no issues at all with it picking up the drive. In case you're wondering, I said I didn't know what was on this drive. It was an old Linux install when I was testing out some Linux gaming on a desktop rig a little while back. I think it had Pop OS on it or something. So I nuked that, and I'm going to put a bunch of hungry games on there. The other reason I would pick this one is it has the 3 USB ports, because if I'm using mouse keyboard, that means I've still got another USB port spare for whatever else, another media card, a hard disk for transferring stuff to and from, whatever I need, I've got that sitting there. I mean, in theory, I could just unplug, say, the mouse and just use the controls or the touchscreen to do that mousey stuff while I'm doing whatever I need to do with the other port, but for convenience sake, I like this one better. That said, this is very small, very compact, nice and tidy. The power supply comes out the back of the unit, whereas this one plugs into the side, which makes this look a little bit tidier when it's on the desk, especially when the unit's not in it, covering up where the power supply goes. So I do like that about this small one as well. One other thing of note, I mentioned the prices of these in the beginning, with this being about 35 bucks more than this one, and I said, well, that's about the same as you pay for an external enclosure for an M.2 drive. I think I might have got the last one of these. It's currently out of stock on Amazon. I went to grab the link when I was preparing the text for the video, so I can give you guys the link to this. It's currently sold out. I'll link it there in case it comes back in stock, but I'll also link an alternative to this, which is slightly more expensive, but does also appear to have a slightly better construction philosophy behind it, particularly when it comes to the bay and everything. So, yeah, unfortunately, at least at the time of publishing, if you want this one or the equivalent of this one, you'll be paying slightly more than I said in the introduction. Womp womp. Can't have nice things, I suppose. But yeah, both of these docks, very, very nice. Both of these docks very representative of the kind of docks that Steam Deck users have been using for quite some time without any major issues. I looked in, I mean, you can't really trust Amazon reviews, but I did look into both of these, and the legitimate reviews I could find, the legitimate use cases I could find. Oh, hello, street sweeper outside my window. That'll do lovely things from audio as I'm signing off the video. The general response seems to be about the same as mine. Fucking street sweepers at the worst times. Come on, I'm wrapping up here. Thank you for watching. I am Blunty. I'll catch you next time. And yeah, I will be continuing to use that for all my ongoing testing. And I've got a really fun idea. Now that I've got this, it enables something really interesting that I've been wanting to try out with the Ally there. But now I can. I mean, I could have done it with this one, but it would have been way too awkward. This makes life a lot easier. So there you go. Thanks to the patrons, as per usual. Your above-and-beyond support is wildly appreciated. And to the rest of you, hopefully you found this video at least useful, if not interesting. Catch you next time.